Breaking Down After Hours is sponsored by CuriosityStream. When you sign up for CuriosityStream using the link in the description, you'll also get access to my streaming video service, Nebula. Enjoy. The Weeknd's original trilogy of mixtapes contributed towards a renewed faith in R&B. The imagery throughout the triad introduced us to Abel's darkly sexual and narcotic-fueled lifestyle, a cycle of drugs, seduction, and inevitable infidelity. It was raw and unfiltered. Kissland saw The Weeknd get a taste of his own medicine, experiencing heartbreak after attempting to employ those same manipulative tactics on a new love. Beauty Behind the Madness had Abel tapping into a more caring side of himself, yet still repeating those same mistakes. And Starboy only confirmed that the Dark Prince of Pop hadn't altered his sinful behaviors. Despite the change in his production over each release, the subsequent sorrow and regret behind his actions has always remained. He's frequently the anti-hero of his own narrative, continually repressing the idea of love, yet constantly craving it, wanting an emotional connection, but being fully aware of the pain that often comes along with it. After Hours continues Abel's conflicting dichotomy and has him continuing to live up to his pseudonym. The Weeknd, with its promise of pleasure, romance, and nightclub antics, but also The Weeknd, in regards to the emotional toll his actions seem to have on him. Let's venture through Abel's latest descent and break down After Hours. The persona The Weeknd has created in his music lives in a perpetual cycle of love and loss, so it should come as no surprise when we discover him alone again. The end of another romantic relationship has taken its toll on Abel, and that heartbreak has him fleeing to Sin City, Las Vegas. It's where the King of the Fall plans to divert his attention away from grief and venture back into his former self. And from what we've seen in the past, being romantically unattached seems to do more harm than good for Abel. So it's not long before his playboy personality comes alive again and has him overindulging in dangerous behavior. He's nearly overdosing, and while in his near-death state, the following tracks play out like a flashback, recounting the events that led him to Vegas in the first place. Too Late serves as a bit of a prelude to how The Weeknd ended up solo.
I let you down.
He was filled with regret over some unfaithful actions he committed, and it seems like this time it might be too late to mend what's been broken.
It's way too late to save our souls, babe.
He blamed some of it on his environment and living in Los Angeles.
I can't trust where I live anymore.
But by the next track, he admits that the blame for his romantic fallout rests on his shoulders.
But I've been the hardest to love. You're trying to let me go.
He was no longer fully invested in the relationship.
I don't feel it anymore. The house I bought is not a home.
And it wouldn't be the first time Abel has felt like a woman has overstayed her welcome.
This house is not a home to you.
He felt the relationship's end was already near, but his lover was having a difficult time letting him go.
I can't believe you want me after all the heartbreaks.
And he selfishly held on to her knowing the right path forward.
I should have let you go, but I kept you beside me.
Thinking he was protecting her by keeping her close, it only poisoned her view of the love she truly deserved. She was only staying out of the fear of being alone. And Abel begins showing some remorse by encouraging this woman to get out there and not be afraid of finding something new.
So don't be scared to live again.
The chapter closes with Abel feeling like the relationship was never going to work out anyway.
We fell apart right from the start.
SNOWCHILD has Abel musing over his path to success, former struggles, and previous intentions of self-harm.
If I didn't make it, then I'd probably make my wrist bleed. Not to mislead, turn my nightmares into big dreams.
This appears to be the turning point in his thinking. He's reminding himself of how far he's come, everything he's achieved, and is finally showing some gratitude for this lost relationship.
She never need a man, she what a man need. So I keep on falling for her daily.
In 2011, Abel dreamed of heading to California to pursue his music.
Order plane tickets, Cali is the mission. Visit every month like I'm split life living.
But by 2015, he was reminiscing over his hometown of Toronto.
Man, I miss my city, man, it's been a minute. MIA habit, Cali was a mission.
And it's at this point on After Hours where he's finally deciding it's time to escape from LA.
Cali was the mission, but now a nigga leaving.
His reasoning? The City of Angels was deteriorating him and his lover's souls.
Talk to me about the men who try to get in between us. They buy your bags and jewelry.
Their fame and fortune came with plenty of attention and temptation from the opposite sex.
But this world is such an evil place, and these hoes will always find a way.
But after all these years, Abel's recognizing that this lifestyle has been damaging not only his health, but the well-being of his emotional relationships.
This place will be the end of me.
And for once, he genuinely seems to not want to lose that.
Got everything I wanted, but I'd be nothing without you.
But it wouldn't be a Weeknd album without seeing his character's inclination towards corruption.
She pulled up to the studio. Nobody's watching.
Abel risks it all for a night with someone he doesn't even find significant.
We had sex in the studio. Nobody walked.
This was the inciting incident that eventually left the Weeknd alone. And it raises the question, is LA really the cause of his hardships, or is it just Abel himself? Now in Vegas, the delicate ethos he held in SNOWCHILD has changed completely.
Never need a bitch, I'm what a bitch needs. Trying to find the one that can fix me.
Without his real love, he's left with only fame and fortune, fast cars, hard drugs, and meaningless sex.
And I'm bad to my ways cause I'm heartless. All this money and this pain got me heartless.
It's a lifestyle he's shown regret for in the past.
Cause I think it's safe to say this ain't ordinary life.
His actions make him appear heartless, but him feeling heartless stems from the fact that he literally lost the heart of someone he actually held dear. He continually states that he's trying to be a better man, but every time he's alone and faced with temptation, he succumbs to instant sexual gratification. And even now, it seems his love from earlier tracks refuses to give up on him. Maybe they rekindle some form of communication, but Abel begins losing faith, perhaps in himself or over the idea of finding happiness in love.
I lost my faith, so I got away the pain.
That lack of faith has him trying to numb his senses and fill that void that's left him heartless. But when his drug-induced highs begin to fade, he's reminded of the heartache. Once again, proving that he's continually replicating his past. Every time Abel seems to be presented with a good path forward, he instead chooses sin.
All my demons wanna pull me to my grave. I choose Vegas if they offer heaven's gate. I try to love, but you know.
Eventually, we get quite possibly the album's most deeply personal line.
When I look inside the mirror and see someone I love.
Maybe Abel can't love someone correctly because he hasn't learned to fully love and respect himself. He's constantly abusing his body and his emotions when he acts irrationally. It's his weak response inhibition that leaves him doing whatever pops into his head at the moment and then having him deal with the fallout later. It's that spiral that lands him in either a cop car or an ambulance by the end of the track. By showing the world that he's this heartless playboy, he's been able to protect his inner emotions. And because he's perpetually done this throughout his career, his feelings have been numbed in an effort to be emotionally indestructible. But this time alone in Vegas continues to leave him pining for his past love.
I've been on my own for long enough. Maybe you can show me how to love.
The Vegas nightlife has left him cold, empty, and further blinded by the fame. But it's offered him the clarity he needed, and now he's ready to take this woman back.
No, I can't sleep until I feel your touch.
But on In Your Eyes, he's finding out that she's been having a hot girl summer.
I can tell what you've done, yeah, when I look at you in your eyes.
It seems like the tides have turned, and now Abel is the one trying to make it work so that this love doesn't turn into loss. He's tried finding love in others, but has come to recognize that he just can't get over this woman.
Hope you know I mean
Abel has no problem looking past her infidelities because he's just as guilty himself. But every time he looks at her, it's a constant reminder of his own frequent betrayals.
I'm ashamed of what I've done, yeah, when I look at you in your eyes.
It seems the two go their separate ways for some time, but they cross paths at a party and save your tears.
Saw you dancing in a crowded room. You look so happy when I'm not with you.
Abel still feels awful about what he initially put her through and had hoped that she had stayed in touch. Although at this event, she wants nothing to do with him anymore.
You walked past me like I wasn't there.
Even if he hasn't given up on her quite yet.
Take me back, 'cause I wanna stay. Save your tears.
The Weeknd accepts he's too late now. It admits that she does deserve better.
I realize that I'm much too late, and you deserve someone better.
Or so he wants us to think that.
You don't love him. You don't love him if you're thinking of me.
In his mind, he's trying to convince himself that he doesn't care about his love moving on. But jealousy and paranoia is clearly getting the best of him. He thinks she's only trying to get back at him.
Get it right if you fucking matters, fine.
He's clearly having a difficult time coping with the idea that she's actually moving on. He's desperate for her love and in denial of the relationship's end.
My heart belongs to you. I'll risk it all for you.
Whether it's heartbreak or withdrawal, Abel is unable to rest and finds that his attempts to be a better man have been futile. And by the sounds of it, he's contemplating suicide, an eternal sleep where he can continue to dream of only her.
Myself asleep. Just so I can get closer to you inside my dreams.
Granted, he's made threats like these before.
I don't wanna wake up if you ain't laying next to me.
And he's left begging for her presence and forgiveness.
This time I won't break your heart. Your heart.
This is what I consider to be the tragedy of Abel Tesfaye. Throughout his discography, he's hurt women and has been on the receiving end of that hurt as well, but has always found a way forward. After Hours initially seems to be a repetition of his old ways, but this time they aren't enough to mend this heartbreak. It appears he's not as emotionally indestructible as he had thought. He truly found something special, but realized it far too late. By the album's conclusion, Abel is paralyzed by the weight of his own emotions.
I'm so paralyzed. I'm so paralyzed.
He's tired of hurting the one he loves. He had hoped he'd grow stronger and more integral with time, but he's only sunk deeper into the black hole of hedonism, fame, and fortune. He needs to be a better man and break this perpetual cycle.
I don't even wanna get high no more.
He's finally looking inside the mirror, or rather himself, hoping that he can still see some semblance of good reflecting back at him, something he can say he loves about himself. Abel has always tapped into the darkest and most shaded part of his mind for our entertainment, but it's finally bleeding him dry. And he's trying to convince himself that he doesn't need the drugs or love to be genuinely happy.
I keep telling myself I don't need it anymore.
So it should come as no surprise when we discover him alone again.
Alone again.
Thanks for watching, ladies and gents. Like the video if you liked it, subscribe if you loved it, hit that bell so you're notified of when the next episode goes live. Follow us at More Middle 8 on Instagram and Twitter. There are more Middle 8 record brushes in stock, so be sure to snag one before they're gone. The Middle 8 Madness podcast is available wherever you listen to podcasts, so check those out, and links to everything are below. YouTube, flat out, does not care about its creators. I dealt with a ton of copyright issues just to get this video to you, since YouTube barely allows me to use more than 8 seconds of audio at a time, which is kind of tough to do. It should be considered fair use the way I use it. It's for education and discussion purposes, and I use it pretty sparingly. But my creator friends and I have come up with a solution. We've teamed up to build our own streaming platform called Nebula, where we don't have to worry about copyright claims or how much music we use in our videos. Nebula allows us to continue to create without limitations. On Nebula, our content is ad-free and pushes some boundaries since we don't have to worry about YouTube's constant restrictions. And we've partnered with CuriosityStream so that we can keep making it happen. CuriosityStream houses some of the best documentaries on the internet. The platform loves educational content and educational creators, which is why we worked out a deal where if you sign up with the link below, you'll get CuriosityStream and Nebula for free. So as long as you have CuriosityStream, you'll have Nebula. And until January 3rd, CuriosityStream is 41% off. You're going to be staying inside during this winter quarantine anyway. Might as well venture through a new streaming platform, or two. Ever wonder what music will sound like in the future? Well, Sigourney Weaver's got you covered in Music of the Future. Find out if a computer can write a hit musical. Or check out some exclusive content from Polyphonic and Volksgeist on Nebula. Head to the link in the description to get both CuriosityStream and Nebula for 41% off. Or you can go to curiositystream.com/middle8. It really helps support this channel and educational content in general. But tell me, what did you think of the Weeknd's After Hours? Let me know in the comments below. But that's it for me. Again, thanks for watching and keep listening.